All right. Hello, everyone in Facebook land. Thank you for joining us for our East Valley, fourth trimester Arizona, East Valley Village gathering. My name is Jennifer Hoprich, and I am the East Valley lead. I'm really excited for our topic today. We have some amazing moms, amazing parents, amazing professionals who are on today to be supporting one another, supporting you in talking about postpartum hacks. So, that we're going to really dive into today what is genuinely working, what has actually been helping, because we get a lot of advice. There's a lot of marketing that's aimed towards us. There's a lot of information out there, but we want to find out what's actually working for each individual. And of course, we know that not everything is going to work for everyone, but the idea here is to be sparking the conversation to get some ideas and planting some seeds. So I want to share with you really quick, in case this is your first time tuning in here, what this is. So fourth trimester Arizona was established to honor and support parents as they navigate the very real challenges and joys of parenthood, and to connect them with a community that embraces and supports them in parenting. We are the village into which Arizona families are born, and we aim to change the culture of parenting in our community so that no one has to do this alone. In our village, families are loved, they are seen as capable, and they belong. This is our time to be there for Arizona families and for each other. So thank you all so much for joining us. I'm so glad that each of you are here. So before we dive into this topic, I want to throw it over to our director, Dr. Jenny Beaver, to share a little bit with you about our conference that's happening on Saturday. Let's hear about it.
Thanks so much, Jen. All right, I'm going to share my screen really quick. So yes, indeed, our fourth trimester Arizona conference is happening this Saturday. And really, the fourth trimester conference is all about postpartum hacks. It's really about the postpartum all the way up, way past, what we traditionally think of as the fourth trimester, but making sure that our minds and our bodies and our emotions are taken care of during this time. And there's going to be a lot of wonderful speakers talking about mental health, talking about physical health. I know we have someone who's going to talk about postpartum exercise and things like that, as well as some different opportunities for creativity, sound healing and meditation. There's going to be yoga, and just lots of really awesome topics. We have a couple of our speakers actually on today. So Jennifer Hoprich is going to be talking about finding your village, as well as doing some meditation for us. And Keely Bruner is also going to be presenting about creativity and motherhood. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, go get them. You can go to our website, fourthtrimesteraz.org, or there are plenty of links here in Facebook. For those of you who are watching today, we do have a special code for the East Valley Village. It is East Valley Village 2022, and that will actually get you in free. So if you're watching, go ahead and click on that and go put in East Valley Village 2022 when you get down here to discount code, and you'll get in free. All right. Thanks so much, Jen. I'll let you move forward.
Yay, thank you so much. That is so generous, and that's so exciting. Yay. Okay, great. So for today, I would love to just open it up because I want to make sure. I know that several of you are on this call right now because you have burning questions and you're like, this thing is going on. What the heck do I do? So I'd love to open it up. You're welcome to either type into the chat, and if you do that, then I'll be reading it out so that we can all talk about this. Or you're also welcome, because we have a small enough group, that you're welcome to just unmute if you like and ask the question. Okay, this is going on in my life. Like, what product is working for you, or what service? Like, have you hired someone to help with this? So I invite you to just, think about that right now. Like, is there something that has been a challenge for you? Maybe it's breastfeeding. Maybe it's getting the baby to get to sleep. It could be anything. It's all welcome. So feel free to go ahead and type it into the chat, or you can speak it out loud. So, okay. And then yeah, you're also welcome to if you have a hack and you're like burning to share that with us, you can do that too. Rebecca typed into the chat, my biggest hack is my mom cozy carrier. And Jenny says, yes, carriers. That was totally my best hack for postpartum. And yeah, that is so funny that you're mentioning that as the very first thing. I was just at a mama's house yesterday, and I came in, and the dad was wearing a Moby wrap, and the baby was asleep. The baby is 1 week old, and they were like, did you know about these things? And I was like, yeah. And the dad's like, I like this baby would never quiet down for me, and now all of a sudden, like my wife can sleep because I can finally take good care of the baby, and the baby will sleep with me. So yeah, love it. Okay, the mom cozy carrier, the Moby wrap is one that I've been seeing. Keely says agreed. Rebecca says I love baby wearing dads. So awesome. Yeah, so are there other baby carriers that you are loving? Like which ones? There's so many different styles. There's, the wraps, there's the slings, there's the buckles. Like which one works at what time? Like some of them are better for when you have a little tiny infant, some are better for older. Like what's worked for you?
I found each one of my kids like different carriers, which was kind of strange. I didn't expect that. My first one, I had an ergo, mostly because that was mostly what was out then, right? And I tried wraps with him, but he wasn't very into it. But my second child, like you put that child in a wrap and he was like this like cocooned baby. Like all of a sudden he went from like being crazy and upset to just like, oh. And then my third, I kept trying to do, yeah, he was like, that was his thing. And then my third, I kept trying to do that. And I would put him in the wrap and he'd be like, okay, whatever. Like he was much more the structured. I used a kinder pack with him like forever. Yeah. So it's different. And then different stages, right? So yeah, there's some stages where it's super comfy to have a tiny baby in, and then once they get to be like 20-ish pounds, you don't want to use that carrier anymore.
Totally. Thank you. Camille is saying, I always had my husband wear a shirt of mine or wrap it around his neck when I wasn't able to hold the baby. It calmed my baby so quickly. Oh my gosh, yeah, your pheromones, your scent. Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. What a great hack. Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things, like the carriers are one of the things that I'm always talking about because especially when you have your first baby, it's like, how am I gonna, like, literally, how am I going to get anything done? I can't, after you've had your first, weeks of rest, it's like, I actually want to make a meal now, or I want to pick up, or I want to do a craft or something like that. How can I physically do it? And the wrap is so great because you can wear, it's called like baby wearing. You can wear your babies and then you actually have your hands free. Um, and oftentimes the babies will just fall asleep in the carrier. So such a great hack, I think, especially for the beginning. In the beginning, important to have the babies very close to you, having their necks supported. Those buckle ones are not as safe, some of those in the beginning, but definitely that can make a big difference. Both with my husband, when my baby was born, he would walk her around outside at night to help her to calm down. Because the only way that I could get her to calm down was to nurse her. And sometimes I was like nursed out. And so I would be like, here, take her. And he would wear the carrier and walk her around outside. And almost every time it worked that she would fall asleep, like walking, and just being in the fresh air, the sounds or whatever of being outside helped so much.
Yeah, I had a similar experience, Jen. I don't know if I ever told you that with my youngest baby. Once I was done nursing him for like, it was time to go to bed anyway. I would put him on my husband's back in the carrier and I'd be like, okay, go take a walk. And I think he did that for like 2.5 years, every night to put the baby to sleep. And he would complain a little bit. And then one day I was like, dude, you've lost so much weight. Like you're You're so fit now. And he was like, oh, that's right. And then he kept doing it. I think it wasn't until the little one was like 3 and we put him and his brother in the same bed that we stopped doing that because it just worked.
Yes, right? Oh my gosh, we're like living the same lives. Jenny. That's exactly what we did. Yeah, it was like almost every night my husband did that, and that was what worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did get totally fit. His legs.
Yeah, because they're carrying this weight, right? And it's progressively bigger.
Yeah, it's like brilliant. And we could do that too, of course, as moms, like, or if we're single parenting, we can walk our kids around too to help them to fall asleep outside. But yeah, the carriers, man. And Camille makes a great point here. She said it's so important to make sure we wear them correctly. Do lots of research on the best way. And nowadays, most of the carriers will have, like, for their brand, they'll have a YouTube video that's really specific. They'll demonstrate exactly how to do it because they want you to be safe in using it also. So just make sure that when you're looking it up on YouTube that it's actually produced by the carrier brand itself. And that's going to be a great way to make sure you're wearing the baby in a safe way. Cool. Okay, who else? What other questions do you have? Or hacks that you want to make sure to share to help others because it saved your life?
I just saw Jenna put in the chat. She said, any tips for babies with acid reflux? Our new baby really struggles to sleep in her bassinet. So I had 3 of my 4 children all had an acid reflux of some kind. And so we had them sleep upright in some way. And so the doctor recommended the specific, like, it's not a pillow because I don't want to, you don't want to use a pillow, but it was like a wedge or something. And it was just at the correct angle, just up a little bit. It wasn't crazy up, but that helped substantially with each of our babies. And then we always did naps and things like that in either on me, because that helps for them to be upright. It stinks if you have a lot of things you have to get done, but if you wear them correctly, then like we talked about, it'll be okay. And then occasionally spending time in their swinger and a bouncer also helped them to be upright a little bit, as long as they're not unattended or anything like that. So that's what we did. But we had 3 of our 4 children all have horrible, horrible acid reflux, to the point where they were on medication. That's how bad it got. So I feel for you, Jenna. And if you need anything else, let me know. I'd be happy to help how I can.
Thank you so much for the question, Jenna, and thank you so much, Camille, for sharing your experience of what worked. And that's pretty common. Yeah, like that reflux stuff, and that's a great idea, looking for those, a wedge like that. And a great idea, pediatricians oftentimes do have some good suggestions for things like that. That's great.
Yeah, we found my youngest had reflux and my other 2 hadn't. So I was like sort of shocked. And we found keeping him upright for 15 minutes at least, sometimes a half hour after every feed, which in the middle of the night was really hard, but it helped. And then at some point I had to like stop him from eating quite so much every time because he would like eat to make it feel better, I think. And then it would feel worse because it would start to try to come up. And so I'd be like, oh, nope, you're going to stop for a while. You're fine. Let's bounce around for a few minutes and walk and do whatever. And that seemed to help. And then like we even elevated the changing table. Like we put like rolled towels under the changing table. Oh gosh, it was a rough time. But the good news is it went away about 5 months-ish, which was great. But I don't know. It is challenging. And lots of baby carrier use. I feel like that child was carried more than any of my other ones because straight up. Solidarity, mama. Reflex is not easy.
Thank you.
I don't have any really genius solutions for this. I also had a spitter upper. I don't know that it was diagnosable. Really, for us, we just kind of knew that it was going to be for a limited amount of time, probably. And it didn't seem to she didn't seem to care either way. It didn't hurt her. It didn't smell particularly. It wasn't colored, and so we weren't alarmed about it medically. I basically, I'll tell you what helped me was dressing her in a diaper only because I found that there was a lot of laundry otherwise, and so that's probably the best tip that I can give. Besides what's already been said, and then also knowing, I think for me, I stressed out a lot, thinking, oh, it's something I'm eating, it's something I need to change in what I'm doing, and like the fact of the matter is that like maybe, but really, probably not. It's probably just developmental. It's probably something that will pass, And then for us, Jenny, I think you said 5 months. It's probably about what it was for us too. Fortunately, she was a spring baby, so she just kind of stayed in a diaper, over most of the summer.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Keely. Real life, what, what works. Appreciate that. Beautiful. Okay, well, feel free, to continue in the chat if you have any other ideas, things like that. For that, we have a new hack that was just posted. Jacqueline is sharing baby signing was helpful for communicating and reducing frustration. Did you guys use sign language for your babies, or how did you communicate with them? What did you use that helped you to be able to understand your babies and why they were frustrated? And I know for us, we had some videos. It's like just baby signs. Maybe it was really like a simple name, and there was like a series that we used. And so we used that for my son and my daughter. And it just for small things like milk, we did this one, and that was really helpful to know, oh, baby's hungry, or like more, like for more food, or like all done this, and so just those little things, that help so much with feeding time and, yeah, just understanding why, a baby might be crying. I don't know if we didn't get super deep into it, but just those things did help.
Those are the three that I know too and use. This one all the time and this one all the time, sometimes more, but it was mostly milk and I'm done, right? We'd be like, are you done? Yes, because then everything went on the floor.
Yeah, otherwise that's the other sign. It's just everything gets pushed to the floor. Yeah. Oh, Rebecca says, I didn't use signs. I had Mikey show me what he wanted, like pointing, imagining, and that worked well. He started talking really early because he wasn't dependent on signs to communicate. I'm going to try signing with Christian though. LOL. Cool. Yeah, pointing, very helpful also. And it's so hard on our hearts when our child is upset and we don't know what to do to help. So great to have these nonverbal cues, that we can use with them.
I also think it's kind of handy sometimes with siblings because they can sometimes tell what the problem is, better than maybe you can. And this is just kind of a funny anecdote, actually, because um, our daughter Catherine is the middle one, and she always would cry in the car seat. And I figured I probably knew why my son, he's the youngest, why he was crying, but she was sort of just out of that stage a little bit, but she was already verbal. So it's like, why do you think he's crying? And she goes, because he wants Ninny, because he wanted to nurse, and it was like, well, that just confirmed my suspicion. Not that I can do anything about it. If I had a hack, it would be a way to nurse while you're driving. That would be my best hack, and I haven't figured it out. We did have a car seat where I could nurse while he's in the car seat, but it wasn't until my third one that we got that style, and it happened to work out. But that's pretty, it covers a lot of, complaints.
I am so ready for someone on here to invent that system. Like they have those systems where like you can put this tube up to your air conditioner in the front and it'll like go to the back, like, for the baby. And we
It's like a siphon. How high would it be, right?
just hook yourself up. I remember sitting in the back seat with my daughter when we were going on like we drive up to Sedona or something, and I would be in the back seat, I'm buckled up, but my seatbelt is like ridiculous, and I'm like leaning over the cars. It's so dangerous, but I was like done with the crying, and that was the only thing that would help. So,
No, yeah, listen, like because of the way everything was in the summer of 2020, we decided to spend it with our families in North Carolina. We drove for 4 days between here and there, and that's how we were able to do it, basically. And then probably more hours than not, I was in that position, Jen.
okay, it's good to know I'm not alone.
How many people spent like the first year of your child's life driving with one hand because you actually had to be like holding your hand to the baby behind you? Like anybody else?
Yes, dislocated shoulder.
The baby literally needed to hold your hand to know you were there, right? Like object impermanence. Uh-huh.
Backwards facing seats. Yeah, exactly. We swing over. So,
Oh, I don't know if that's a hack.
survival mechanism.
I don't know. Oh my gosh.
I didn't breastfeed any of my children, but I pumped for my last child exclusively. And when we would go on trips to visit Texas from Arizona to visit our family, I would pump in the car, but I'd be driving at the same time. So I would wear my like little shields, and then I'd have both going at the same time. So, and plugged in, to the AC of the car so that it could work. And I would pump the whole trip, because then my husband would go back and he would give her the bottle, because I get car sick easy. So I have to drive. So I'm driving and pumping. And then every time we'd go to like a border patrol stop, because they have quite a few on the way from here to Texas, or from Arizona to Texas, they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Do you really want to know?" Because I don't think you do, but sure, I'll tell
Hang
you.
under there. Yeah, you don't want to know. It's not drugs. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not, I'm not trying to transport oranges. None of those things.
Talk about multitasking, though, really. Like, yeah, I mean, you could just ask the agent, be like, show me an hour of your life where you've been remotely this productive.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, and those pumps that fit in your bra, oh my gosh, totally revolutionary, right? Like
I wish I would have had that. I just had my regular pump, and I just held it with one hand and drove, and then switched and drove.
oh my gosh. What
But
moms do for these kids.
right.
It's amazing. Oh, but yeah, what are those, Jenny, what are those pumps that there's like with the Willow, what are the ones that you
There's a
can
lot of them.
your
The
bra?
freebie ones are the ones I like best, because those can hook to most any pump, and they'll just hook up and they go in your bra. But lots of people like the LV. Some people like the Willow. I think Mom Cozy even makes one that kind of fits in your bra now too.
All right, you want to go play on the tablets for a little bit? You want to
Hey,
go play on the
Rebecca.
tablets for a little bit? Put your shoes on.
Hey, Rebecca. Oh, you unmuted there for a sec. It's okay. No problem. Mom life. Hashtag mom life.
We have some other hacks in the chat, Jen.
Yes, thank you. Okay, cool. So Rebecca was saying that she agreed with Keely earlier. Let's see. Yeah. And then Jocelyn is saying, my biggest help is that I have a great village. Yay. Hard because it takes time to make it, but I'm so glad I have it now. And being brave enough to ask for help. Yeah, that's so huge. I had lots of people vaguely say, let me bring you a meal, but it wasn't organized. Yes, it has to be like pragmatic. Yeah, 100%. So I just asked my sister to set up a meal train website, and everyone had a way to tell me when they could come. Yes, awesome. Yeah, meal train. What a great postpartum hack. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Jocelyn. And yeah, I think it's just mealtrain.com or org, right? And anyone can go on there. If you just Google meal train, for sure you'll find the website. And you just go on there, and then it'll create a link for you. And then you can text people this link, and they can go on there and just fill out. It'll have like the days of the week. You can put on there if there are allergies or other dietary concerns for the family, and it'll post that on there, and then people just fill in what they're going to bring and what day they're going to bring it, and it organizes all of that for you. And I don't even think there's a cost for it. No, I don't think. Or if it is,
Mhm.
it's super nominal. So yeah, such a great hack is the meal train. And also the other big one that you mentioned, Jocelyn, well, there's two other big ones. So the village, creating community, and it can be challenging to organize all of that. So, we here at fourth trimester, that's our whole thing is connecting the village. It's right behind, and creating community. And we have these gatherings more than once a week. In some cases, we have one at least once a week, but more than once a week. So you can have community. These are always free. This is a nonprofit. So you can always, know that you're not alone, and you can show up exactly how you are, and you don't have to, be showered. You can have spit up in your hair and, all of that, and you can nurse, and it's just all welcomed. So just know that. And then the other thing, Jocelyn, that you brought up, which is so huge, is asking for help. And how challenging is that for us? And yet, when someone asks us for help, how fulfilling is it, to be able to offer that to them? It's almost like a gift that we give to people when we're vulnerable with them and show up and say, I could really use a meal, or would you be willing to fold the cloth diaper laundry, or would you be willing to sweep up the kitchen? The kids have been going crazy. Or would you be willing to take my older kids, for a couple hours, once a week, for the next couple weeks, so I can get some bonding time with just the new baby? Those kind of
Yeah.
things are so huge.
And it is a gift to the person who gets to help you. I still remember, I mean, I've done Seven Sisters for several people, but I know I've mentioned this one before, but Iana, like I came to her house one day and I'm like, how can I help? She's like, could you help me clean up my bedroom and, get it vacuumed and all that? And I was like, I felt like $1,000,000 helping her do that. I was like, look at me. I managed to come here and I made your bedroom so clean. It looks so great. And I like went home and I was like, dang, you are just awesome. Right?
Ooh.
Like, because I could control that, right? Like I could control that. It was something I could give to the world. So it's actually kind of interesting how much different it is to be the giver than to be the person who receives. But like for me, I would have been so like, oh my gosh, how could I ask anyone to help me clean my bedroom? Even though like when I did it, I was like, that was so fun. So it's really interesting when we get down to it, how the things that we think are, putting on people are actually kind of a gift in a way. So yeah. Mhm.
Oh, true. Yeah. And yeah, I've been a seven sister before too, and I received seven sisters. And you actually know that you're making a difference. I think that's what's so fulfilling about it, is it's very clear, because the person is asking for something specific, and then you do that specific thing and you're like, yes, like I have now helped. It feels so good.
Mhm.
So if you guys aren't familiar with Seven Sisters, I'll share really what Seven Sisters is, and this is an excellent postpartum hack. Seven Sisters is really a concept, but it is also a book. There's a book called Seven Sisters for 7 Days, and the author of that book was actually a speaker at the fourth trimester conference a couple of years ago. Um, and so there's a website, you can look this up. But yeah, the book again, Seven Sisters for 7 Days. And I'm like blanking on
I just put it in the chat. It's Michelle Peterson.
Michelle
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She lives in Sedona.
Yeah, so this is like a book that's used nationwide. A lot of midwives, postpartum doulas recommend this to their clients, and yeah, used nationwide. And Michelle, she just lives, hop, skip, and a jump from us in Phoenix. And the idea here is that we do need a village when we give birth. We do need people bringing us food. We do need people to help clean our homes. That's just something that we all need. And so the idea is that for each day of the week, so there's 7 days in the week, Sunday through Monday, that we find a village of seven sisters, or, seven people in our community. Traditionally, it would be women, or other mothers, but of course it could be anyone who you trust and you know. Um, but each of those seven people agrees to help out one of those days of the week for the first 6 weeks, or for the first 40 days after giving birth. So for instance, if I'm going to be a seventh sister for my friend, I might take Mondays. So every Monday I commit to bringing over a meal, or, you know, door dashing over a meal. Or maybe I come over and I'm going to help clean, you know, and it's not that I'm cleaning the entire house, but maybe I'm sweeping the kitchen. Every Monday, that's my job, is I bring over a meal and I sweep the kitchen. Or maybe every Monday I take her older children for a couple of hours. So the idea is food. Food is like a big one, and perhaps some help around the house. Because, you know, oftentimes in our postpartum, we have people who are coming over to see the baby, you know, or they might hold the baby. But oftentimes we need different types of help. And the idea is that as a seventh sister, you're not there for just connecting with the baby, but you're there to really support the mom. And so when you have a Seven Sisters program and you have, you know, 7 people who've committed to this, even if, you know, your Wednesday sister can't make it that day, that's no problem because you have somebody coming tomorrow. And so, you know, most people who participate are moms as well. We understand, you know, mom life happens. The kids get sick, you know, stuff happens. But having this type of community like that, it's so supportive and it's so fulfilling. And then you can come over and say, what can I do? Like, what's the 15-minute chore that I can do today? And the mom can tell you, and then you can just know, like, wow, I really helped her today, you know? So yeah, major postpartum hack. Look that up. Check out Michelle's work, and you can create that in your community for one another. Very simple, but very effective and profound. So Jocelyn says, I think a lot of people want to help, but they just don't know how exactly. And if we aren't sharing with them what exactly we need, it can be difficult for them, and they might feel like they don't want to impose, you know. So just being clear about how they can help so much. Thank you. Vulnerability is a gift. Thank you, Keely. Rebecca says, postpartum hack, get a postpartum doula. Yeah, that's a great postpartum hack for sure too. So let's talk about that. What are postpartum doulas? Like, what do postpartum doulas do? If anyone would like to share about what they are, has anybody used a postpartum doula? How do they, like, how often do they come? What do they cost? Like, all those kind of things. I'd love to hear about that.
I'm relatively new at this, so Rebecca probably has a lot more. Oh, is she still on? Okay. Rebecca can probably speak to it a lot more, and probably half the people here can. But as you know, in the experience that I have gained mainly through certification, was I think, and I'll just share this. For me personally, I didn't have a postpartum doula, but I can think of at least 2 or 3 interactions I had with people that were super helpful at that time. I think that practically a postpartum doula helps out with caring for the baby, but also caring for the mother, being sure that, you know, they're finding sustainable ways to create relationships and rhythms within the house. And I find that that's really rewarding. Jenny, I've had that feeling, you know, when I come back from helping a client, where it's just like, gosh, I feel like a superwoman was able to help her in this type of a way, and it feels like such a precious and vulnerable time of life, and it's magic. And to be able to like be any part of it is very humbling, and I think probably a lot of us feel that way. But I think that for me personally, the value of a postpartum doula is that you don't have to Google everything. It's almost like a human Google, where you can say, oh, you know, the reflux, or I'm having trouble getting them to sleep, or how, you know, how much are they supposed to be peeing and pooping, you know, what is it, does this look normal, you know, how do you use this baby carrier, how do you manage, you know, my husband doesn't necessarily know how to help, or all these are things that postpartum doulas can help assist with. But I think at the core of it is that that person is in your corner. That person is for you. That's not somebody that's going to come and hold the baby and snuggle them while you just kind of like look on or you do your work, whatever. That is something that happens. That can happen. If that's what you want, that will happen. But, and that's helpful because you can take a shower or a nap or whatever. In that way, you know, somebody skilled is caring for your baby. However, what I really feel like has been the most useful is when I can say to a birthing person, like, you are doing the right thing. I can tell that you and your partner have a rhythm. You work well together. You are so responsive to this baby's needs. And I feel like you're going to be golden. You are already doing a great job. And you can almost see like the shoulders relax, and like there's this sense of real release and being kind of affirmed and being told and understand that you're doing the thing. You're doing it. You want me to tell you how to do it, and you're doing it. I don't know. I don't know. That's really super rambly. I'm gonna stop.
That's so great, Keely. Thank you for sharing that because, yeah, we do need to be affirmed. We need to be affirmed that we are capable when we've given birth, that we're capable, that we're the best parent, for this child. And so thank you for that. That's awesome. Yeah, we had a postpartum doula for after my second. We didn't have any family here. Nobody was coming out to be with us. And so we hired a postpartum doula. And it was so great to be able to sleep together. That's one of the things that my husband and I really appreciated was that she would, take care of the baby and bring her to me to nurse. And then my husband and I could relax and sleep together. And she picked up around the house. She would do some errands. She was just, yeah, just there to help out with the things that if you would imagine, if like you had an amazing mom who was like totally there for you in all ways and there was no emotional baggage, in it, what that would look like. And that's what she did. And yeah, it was really wonderful to have that. Yeah. Question about how often, like, do postpartum doulas, is it like you're coming every day? Is it like 2 to 4 hours, like a few days a week? Like, just what would somebody expect if they were going to hire one? Like, how often are you there? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Keely.
Go ahead. No. I talked. I was just gonna say it can be yes, all of those things. But go ahead, Rebecca, please.
I was gonna say I do a minimum of like 3 to 4 hours a day. That way they actually have time to get something out of it. Because there's not much you can really teach in like a 1 to 2 hour period when it's so one-on-one with a parent. So I do a minimum of 3 to 4 hours a day. And I take at least 2 days off a week. So they can decide when they want to have those 2 days off or something. But us doulas need time to recharge as well if we're going to be on our best for our parents. So I normally do a 5-day week with my parents. The first week will probably be a 7-day week just because they are so freshly postpartum. After that, it's normally a 5-day or less week, depending on what they feel like their needs are.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, Jenny, isn't it true that in a lot of countries there's something kind of similar that's provided by the government, like by the state, right? Like,
Well, a lot of people get automatic home visits, every other day or so. Yeah, I know that there are home visiting programs that exist here, but it's not quite as it's not for everyone, and they're not quite as robust in terms of funding or what they actually do. There are groups here that really do provide that kind of care, but they are small and not all of us have access to it. I'm just thinking one of our village leads, Ia, does something similar where she's there for her mamas, kind of like their village, their family after they have a baby, which is pretty amazing. But yeah.
We'll see more of that, as we understand that we need support. We're not meant to be on an island after we give birth. We need our community. We need our village.
Well, yeah, and culturally too. Even in countries where it isn't something that's provided for or sanctioned by the government, a lot of other countries, it's just expected that the people who live around you and your family will come and support you for a certain amount of time, right? And you're supposed to stay in bed, and there are rituals that are performed and ceremonies, to get you back to be feeling good. I know in China, they even have hotels that are made for that, which actually sounds kind of amazing, but I don't know. Maybe if it was the right hotel, right? I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it just depends, I guess. I guess if you were forced into it, it's one thing, but if that's a choice you get to make, that seems like that could be really nice. But I don't know.
I
I
would
don't
love
know,
to go to a hotel right now.
right? And someone like comes and cares for your baby, gives you a bath and a massage. Like the whole thought of it is
I
like,
would
you do a
I would kill
resort
for that right now.
I'm into it. We all deserve that, right? After giving birth, we really all deserve to be honored and cared
Yeah.
for. It's just natural, you know? My gosh. Yeah, thank you for that. All right, I have one other that I know I wanted to make sure to ask because I get asked this all the time. Please share with me, what are your postpartum hacks for baby gassiness? Okay, like what is your thing? Because there's so many things, so you can type it into the chat or just unmute yourself and share like what actually worked to help your baby. Was it a combination of things? I want to hear all the things.
I got a couple things. I'm gonna hop
Okay.
because I just had a gassy baby. So one thing that really does help is gripe water. It can help really well, and make sure to get like the organic gripe water, which most gripe water is organic. But one thing to also check for is to go see an IBCLC and get your baby evaluated for a possible lip tie. A lot of people don't know that lip ties keep the latch from sealing properly, and that allows air in while they are nursing, and that can cause gassiness and colic. I didn't know that. So every time someone's like gassy baby, I'm like, let's check for this real quick. You can also do some back massages, certain back massages, if you go in the direction of their intestinal tract. So you go down and around towards their bottom, and do some leg exercises like bicycles, running, but don't be super gentle with it. Like you want to kind of fold them in half because that puts pressure on their abdomen so that they can get the gas or anything else out that they need to get out.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. It's fresh for you. Yeah, thank you.
I felt like when I wore my baby a lot, it helped with that as well because of that pressure being on you as well, helps to get that gas out.
Baby wearing also helps to comfort them when they are feeling gassy. So
There's a study that came out of Italy where they showed that like an hour a day of baby wearing equated to like 3 hours less crying in a day. It was an unbelievable study. It was like, whoa, it makes sense, right? But yeah, the gassy baby thing. So I have to tell you this, and I don't know if this is helpful, but this is like the truth.
The truth
So-
is always helpful.
I don't know, right? Knowing the truth might be helpful. So as an IBCLC, I think, and I've been practicing for over 10 years, I ask every parent when their kid is about 3 weeks old, is your baby gassy? And I think I've had one person say no. And so I was like, that's interesting. Every 3-week-old is gassy. I wonder what that's about. And so the other side of my life, I'm a researcher, and I attended this talk with this researcher who was looking at gut bacteria and gut flora, right? Like how the baby's body gets populated with, all the good bacteria that's good. And you look at the graph, and so here's 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, and you're going up to 2 weeks, and at 3 weeks it goes like exponential growth at 3 weeks. And I raised my hand and I was like, wait, 3 weeks, exponential growth of gut bacteria. Is this why they're all gassy? And he was like, oh, yeah, that would make sense. So anyway, I think a lot of it is just developmental. I don't know if that solves anything, but just knowing it will go away and that everybody's baby is going through it might help.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Yeah, well, the reason I'm asking it is because, I'm seeing these people. I see people at 2 to 3 weeks postpartum in their home, and same. Every baby is gassy, so I have like the whole litany of things that I recommend. But yeah, just, sharing that. So pretty much every baby is gassy at this point. Like, is it even worth saying that they're gassy? Because maybe they're just 3 weeks old,
I was shocked. The one person who was like, no, I was like, really? What are you doing?
love that. Whoa, let's study this baby. I love it. Oh my gosh. So Jocelyn says, I use Little Remedies gas drops. Bought at Target. Thank you. Okay, excellent. And then, yeah, Keely was saying, yeah, baby wearing helps with gas. It worked awesome for her. Um, cool. Yeah, we talked about, yeah, like, so burping babies, like after they eat, making sure that you burp them really well, like in more than one position, like over your shoulder, but then you can set them up over your leg and, support their head like this and their back and kind of go back and forth, or like, circles around, that can also help with that. And then Tamika was saying, I'd like any tips on recovery through the use of foods. And it kind of dovetails into this with sometimes babies are gassy because they could be sensitive to certain foods. Like if they're breastfeeding, they could be sensitive to certain foods that the mom is eating, like dairy is kind of like a culprit. You would see that a lot in your practice too, Jenny, do you think?
I mean, it's the one that we usually suspect, but honestly, most of the time, taking out dairy alone doesn't fix it. So I don't know. I think it's a really hard one because some of it just gets better with time and some of it doesn't. Yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, it is. It's like this trial and error kind of thing, when babies are gassy. Jenny was saying warm water bottles sometimes helps too. Some babies for sure take in more air with oral ties, or if mom has a huge supply and babies are gulping. Yeah, like if the letdown is kind of forceful, they can swallow some air. Yeah, for sure. I love the idea of seeing a lactation consultant. If you've got that stuff going on, sometimes they can make a big difference just with a few little adjustments. That's so great. Yeah, so okay, Tamika, tips on recovery through the use of foods. And you were mentioning also, Tamika, the really amazing book, The First 40 Days, The Essential Art of Nourishing the New Mother by Hang Wu. And yes, we give that book out to every client because it is so good and it's full of amazing recipes. So yeah, I'd love to hear too, like what foods have you used to help with postpartum recovery? What works well? Yeah, love to hear that. What do you guys got for that? I have some things I can add in too, but what worked for you? Oh, Jenny, you got muted again.
I was telling my husband who just walked in that I'm on live.
Sorry.
Okay, and he's going to give you some tips. No, I don't know if 7 years ago, when I guess it's almost 8 years ago, when my youngest one was born, if I knew about healing foods and nourishing things. I think I mostly just knew that I wanted people to bring me food, and mostly hot. But since then, I've learned a lot more about a lot of different cultures will put warming herbs into broths and other types of foods that are really easy to consume, like bone broth, maybe with a little bit of ginger or turmeric, those types of warming herbs. And some people do the like the golden milk warmed up. So turmeric with, coconut milk or whatever kind of milk you want, warmed up, that kind of thing. Trying to think if I had anything nourishing during that time myself. I think I know a lot now about that, but I don't think I knew a whole lot about it when I had mine. But yeah, lots of different broths. Different cultures have different foods too that they really recommend, which is really interesting to kind of dive into that and look at that kind of thing. Yeah, it's kind of fascinating.
I love that. Yeah, one thing that I love using is the hydro flask. I call it the hydro hack. And so where you get like bone broth, if you consume animal products, and Costco has a really good, it's the Costco brand, but it's organic chicken bone broth, and it comes in a pack of 6. And then you can get those, and it's a good quality. And then you can just warm that up, put that in a hydro flask, like a 32 ounce or whatever, and tuck that in your side. And then as you're, nursing or whatever you're doing, you're feeding your baby, you're doing stuff around the house, you can just be sipping on that as though you were sipping on like an herbal tea. And I love bone broth for postpartum because it has collagen, so it helps to repair your tissues that are healing from giving birth. And it has protein, it has natural fats if you're breastfeeding that support you in that. Plus it's hydrating. So it's just like all the things. It doesn't require preparation if you know, buy it already made. So that has been a hack that I've been loving with working with mamas, to be able to stay nourished, especially after their main support people are going back to work or things like that. It's a way to keep fed without having to be over the stove or doing anything. And then also I love using the hydro flask for smoothies, like making a giant smoothie and putting in all the things. You know, you can put in like a collagen, like a protein powder, spirulina, any kind of like nutrient dense thing. You can put in, you know, cacao or whatever, greens in there, and just make a huge one and fill up the hydro flask. It's like a 32 or 40 ounce, like I said, and then just tuck that in the side, and then that'll stay cold and it'll be like cool enough that it's fresh enough to continue sipping on all throughout the day for like 4 to 6 hours, until your support person gets home or until you have a break or whatever. So you can be switching out like the bone broth for the smoothie. And this is like, you know, real life stuff, like especially if you have more than one child that you're taking care of. Sometimes there just isn't the half an hour, you know, to stand and make food. So this is a way of having something that you can just be consuming all throughout the day. So I love doing that. Although warming foods are considered to be more beneficial for the actual physical healing process, but these are just some, like, you know, hashtag mom life things that work, that will keep you nourished. What else? What else do you guys have? What other questions do you have? We've got probably enough time for one or two more to discuss. What other hacks or questions do you have for postpartum? All right, Jenny, I would love to ask you, as a lactation consultant, can you share with us any like hacks, things that you've seen where it's like if breastfeeding can be challenging, like a couple things that people, you know, can just try that sometimes will help, and kind of like more generalized, you know, tips for breastfeeding success? Anything you've got to share with us?
Yeah, and actually maybe I have my baby doll here. She's here he comes. Here's my little guy. This is a funny one. This is a funny one. This is one that I often tell people. So I often see babies who like want to go to the breast like this. And so
Oh, can you go up a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this, they want to tuck their chin. The baby wants to do that. And so the baby's at the breast kind of like this, right? And all tucked up, and they hurt mom, and they don't take in a whole lot of milk. And mom is super worried that like their nose is going to be smushed and they're not going to get enough air. And so she's like pushing her boob back and like totally like worried about it. And there's a secret. It's called tuck the tail. And so you consider this their tail, right? And you just kind of tuck them around, and suddenly the baby's nose is free. They can extend their neck. They can drink better. Usually they get a better latch, and you don't have to stick your fingers there because you're not worried anymore. But the secret is to, you know, take the baby from kind of doing this curled up position and then tuck them around your body. So we almost say like tuck them under your armpit, and then suddenly their nose is free. Sorry, I know I'm like going in and out with that background. So I'd say that one is like a general one that I tell lots of people. Yeah. What other kinds of things? Just general breastfeeding tips do I tell people? You don't have to always wash your pump parts after every time you pump. You could stick them in the fridge.
Hey, that's a total hack. What? I was washing those every time.
The other thing that I didn't do with my own baby, but I've seen over and over again that some very smart moms figured out how to do, is if you have flanges that actually come off, you can actually stick the flange in the bottle and then use that to pour in, and kind of like a funnel, instead of, you know, trying to keep from spilling it everywhere. I also saw one mom who I thought had totally figured out a hack. So she wanted to be able to walk around with her pump, but she didn't want to buy one of those really expensive Willows or LV pumps. And so she got those freemie flanges that are like $30 or something that hook to, your Spectra, which most people really like the Spectra, and her Spectra had a handle. And so she put a scarf through the handle and tied a knot and put it over her shoulder and walked around pumping like that. And I was like, this is awesome. And she was like, oh, was this a hack? I just figured this made more sense. I thought that one was really cute. Yeah. And totally made sense. The other thing that I figured out that I could do with my third baby that I feel like lots of moms, when they get down that line, kind of get there, is Medela makes a really good hand pump. And I don't usually be like, oh, you should totally use this product, but they make a really good hand pump that when you take it apart, it fits in like a single Ziploc sandwich bag. And I used to take that with me to movies. I pumped at Gamage under a scarf. I used to take it to like breakfast with my friends, and I would just like stick it under my shirt and pump at tables. And like my lactation consultant friends didn't even know I was pumping, because I just be like, oh yeah, I pull out a bottle of milk. So yeah, little funny hacks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, that little Medela pump, I had one of those too, and it worked so good.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
and I had other hand pumps that were just terrible and hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Those are so great. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you
Yeah.
on the fly doing that for us. Thank you. And then Jenna asks, any advice for an older child who is struggling with the new baby? 3.5-year-old pushing all the boundaries. Oh my gosh. Driving her crazy. Okay, what do you guys have for that?
I just always made them involved in everything. So like, I need a bottle, I need a diaper, I need a wipe, I need this binky, whatever it is. I like tried to make them involved so they felt ownership in it. And then they created that kind of bond with them. Like they also could care for them and help them as their older siblings. So I included them as much as I could. Like even when I was changing diapers, I would be like, okay, we're going to change their diaper now. Can you be my wipe hander? And so you hand me the wipes. And then the other person, you hand me the cream and you hand me the powder, whatever it is. And involving them as much as you can really makes them, like I said, they start to have that ownership over that baby, and they feel like this is my sibling and I'm supposed to help them, not hurt them. I don't know if that helped us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Camille. I love that. Anyone else want to share anything that's worked for you with the older siblings to help with bringing in this brand new baby and having it be a little easier? Rebecca says, I'm typing. Hold on. One thing that I've seen is, same thing, Camille. I've seen that work really beautifully. I've also seen people give the older sibling like a gift from the baby that they get to unwrap, and it's almost like a party, for them, and that the baby has given this to them, and the baby's going to be looking to them to teach them all these things, and like enrolling the older children in being a mentor for the baby, and that seems to help a lot. And yeah, getting the gift seems to be like a nice gesture that kind of like sets them up for success. So that's one thing I've seen.
One thing that we sometimes tell people to try with babies that are nursing, and the older child wants the mom's attention, is to have like a special basket that you put on top of the fridge or whatever, and only comes down when you're nursing. And that has like special toys for the older child to play with. The other thing I've seen work is like to read to the older child while you're nursing, so that they feel like they're getting your attention too. Yeah, I will admit to having done a lot of television when I was needing to be focused on my younger child. But yeah, I think that a lot of the other things with bringing special toys and just having some special time seems to help too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so important to give ourselves grace, around, a lot of us would prefer not to have as many screens, but, during these times to, give ourselves grace as parents, that we sometimes do need that space, and sometimes that's the tool that works. Rebecca says, I involved, like Camilla said, but I also made sure that Mikey, my oldest, got one-on-one time so that he still felt like he was special and deserving of attention and not just part of a duo. Most of the time when I do that, he ends up missing his younger brother and wanting to include Christian in it as well. Awesome. Yeah, so I mean, it can be really challenging, especially when you're in the first 6 weeks or so after giving birth. But yeah, creating that space, and we hear it over and over again, but it's so much about the quality over the quantity. So, even 10 minutes of focused attention, playing a little matching game, or, things like that, looking into each other's eyes, a tickle fight, those things can go a long way, in helping the older siblings. So great ideas here. I love
Yeah,
the
when
village.
when I used to send my husband out with the little one to walk around the block, it was because the older one wanted me to put him to bed. Right. And so then he got his own time while the little one got his time with his dad. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense, Rebecca. I agree with you.
So awesome. That's a total hack right there. Yeah, so beautiful. Tamika says, that's so sweet, Rebecca. And Rebecca says, thank you. I also prepped him during pregnancy for the baby to come. So he was expecting it when I was in labor. He said, Christian is coming, and got all excited. So sweet. Tamika asks, does anyone have cloth diaper hacks, especially for washing? I got a lot of cloth diapers. That was my hack. I went on OfferUp. I went on Facebook Marketplace. I typed into my mama groups on Facebook, and I bought maybe all of them used. I think like most of them. You just have to double check for the elastic, that's still working well. And but yeah, I got almost all of them used, so I had a ton, and then that way I didn't have to do laundry quite as much. And Rebecca says, I run 2 rinse cycles, 1 wash cycle, and 2 rinse cycles. 2 rinse cycles, 1 wash cycle, and 2 rinse cycles. Jacqueline says, I turned my hot water heater up higher, and that helped. Tamika said, oh wow, okay, cool. Yeah, I hung mine out, like to bleach, like instead of drying them, I just hung them outside, like face up here in the desert. We can do that, and they dry so quick, and they bleach, and it works really well. Awesome. Yeah, but that was my hack, is just having a lot. That really did help, because initially I had maybe 10. And then I was doing laundry like at least once a day. It was nuts. Rebecca says, I have a super old washer, so that, yeah, it might be why you're needing to do a few cycles. I hear you. Okay, cool. Such a great question. Yeah, cloth diapers are so awesome. How many diapers did you acquire? For me, like when I did cloth diapers for the first year, and I had probably at the height of my stash, I probably had 24. Yeah, I had a lot. And I did the pocket diapers. So those were the easiest for me to wash. So, you just throw them in, and that's it. And then you're just stuffing them, and layering them. Like I would just stuff them and stack them, and it was pretty fast. Um, and I would, like, when I was doing diaper laundry, I would always be listening to some kind of like a podcast or something that was interesting to me. I used that time when I was stuffing those, because I didn't have to really think about it, to have a little bit of time for myself to tune into something that was interesting to me. It was almost like a little ritual that I did. And so I kind of looked forward to doing the diapers, because I had something I would listen to for myself during that, like, 20 minutes or so. Rebecca says, I have a combo of diapers: flats, pre-folds, all-in-ones, pockets, etc., but not a lot, and I wash every couple days. Cool. Yeah, it can be nice to have the combo like that. I also did cloth wipes, and those are so easy. If you're doing cloth diapers, the cloth wipes are like super easy. Just throw it in there too.
I love cloth wipes. My husband was never on board with cloth diapers, so I bought some and he refused to use them. And it finally was just like, okay, this is a losing battle, but the cloth wipes, he was sold the first time we started using them, and he wouldn't even use the disposable ones. He was like, that's ridiculous. It doesn't work nearly as well. And we would just have like this little like plastic grocery bag like hanging on the changing table, and we'd put them in there. And then if that bag got really disgusting, we would just throw it away after we like dunked them in the washer. So we were like the people that didn't really want a cloth diaper, but were like totally committed to cloth wipes.
I love it. I love it so much. Yeah. Yeah, we had like a wet bag. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, but yeah, we had like this big wet bag, and then we would just like throw the cloth stuff in there, and then in the washing machine and just like unzip the wet bag and dumped everything, and then dump the wet bag in there too and wash that. And yeah, it was so easy. I loved that. Tamika said I was the opposite, cloth diapers and disposable wipes. Yeah, so many different ways to do it, you know? I love that. Okay, cool. Someone said in the chat, my mother-in-law was like that, so I gave away all my disposables and didn't give her a choice. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I love it. Oh, so great. Oh, well, I just want to thank you all so much for this lively discussion. When we get together as moms, we are brilliant. And, you know, our brilliance is even further illuminated through each other and being able to share these things. Like they call this like a mastermind or like the hive mind, you know, coming together. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for being vulnerable as well and sharing things that have been challenging for you. So if you really like this theme, let me know and we'll repeat it. I love it. I just love getting together and having all these, you know, shares of what's working. And I just love real life, you know, mom life stuff. So let me know if you love this, and we'll do this theme again. And then next month when we get together, we're going to have like a Mother's Day celebration. So it'll be for moms. We're going to have an online hashtag Mom Life Bingo. It's going to be super fun. It's just going to be a fun gathering to just, you know, be together and share some laughs. So I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Jenny, do you want to share real quick just again about the conference before we go off live or off Facebook?
Sure. Yeah, for those of you who are just tuning in right now, our conference is this Saturday. So if you want to learn about postpartum mental health, physical health, emotional health, and really up through the first 5 years of having a kiddo, that's what it's about. We really aim to support the parent themselves during that time because we know that it's super challenging. And so you'll be hearing a lot more postpartum hacks, postpartum information. There's lots of education, but there's also lots of time for connection. We have a lot of great exhibitors that will be there showing off all their stuff for new parents, as well as some wonderful sponsors. And there's lots of self-care opportunities. So we would love to see you there. My favorite self-care opportunities, of course, are the creativity gathering and the meditation and sound healing. As well as we'll do some yoga. So even if you can only stop in for a couple sessions, see us there. And those of you who are watching this video, you can get in free with the code East Valley Village 2022. All right, we'll see you there.
Yay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, I'll take us off of live.